I always enjoy speaking to a packed house online. So welcome to those of you on the live stream this morning and to those of you gathered in this space. Again, my name is Evie Martin. I'm the lead pastor here at Plattwoods Church. I appreciate that prayer, Mary. Thank you for just sharing that. Words and space and silence that we need to sit into. And this whole sermon series was designed with the intent of not knowing what was coming our way, but knowing that we are called to another way than what the world offers us. And so I hope in these words and these stories we have found some rock to stand on in these times. Maybe you've experienced this. When you live in a particular city, you can go about your daily life without ever doing the things that the tourists come to your city for. Like people who live in St. Louis and they've never been up in the Arch, or people who live in New York City and have never been to the Statue of Liberty, that sort of thing. I've lived in Kansas City for over 5 years now, and somehow I had never been to the World War I Memorial. So a couple of weeks ago, I loaded up the boys and we finally went. I highly recommend it for anyone else who has lived here forever and still hasn't made it there. After the indoor exhibit, we walked up to the outdoor monument for the view of the city and for the elevator ride up to the top of the tower. But what struck me most about this outdoor space was two giant sphinxes flanking the tower. You guys, you know what I'm talking about if you've been there? Like the two enormous stone sphinxes. You can see their lion body, but you cannot see their human face because their wings fold forward to cover the face completely. So I asked the elevator operator about them. He explained that they represent memory and future. Memory covers its face from the horrors of the past, in this particular instance, the horrors of World War I. That made sense to me. But I had assumed that, future would be open-eyed, hopeful, looking forward. Instead, he said, future covers its eyes because the future is unknown. And I felt that. Because January of 2026 is exactly that, isn't it? Unknown, uncertain, veiled. The future is covered, not just because we cannot see it, but because if we're honest, we humans tend to stumble into the same horrors more often than we'd like to admit, as if we couldn't see what was coming, as if our eyes were covered in ignorance or arrogance. And time only moves one direction. So this whole January series has leaned into that truth that what's out in front of us is unclear and always has been. Yet God has always had a word for God's people about how to live in the midst of that uncertainty. Not with instructions about the destination, but with a way, another way. So we began the series with the Magi, whose eyes were opened to the truth of God and the distortions of earthly power. And then came Abram, called to go, destination unknown, and to bless whomever he might meet along the way. And last week we looked at Peter, who was called to fish and to feed, to embody compassion in a cruel world. And today we end with a woman, unnamed but unforgettable, whose encounter with Jesus sets her life on another way, the pursuit of truth. We find her story in the Gospel of John, chapter 4. Jesus is traveling from Judea back to the region of Galilee, and he passes straight through Samaria. This was a region which most Jews went out of their way to avoid. A conflict between Jews and Samaritans went back for generations, an argument about the right place to worship. Was it the shrine on a mountain in Samaria or was it the temple in Jerusalem? And it was a bitter feud. Each group thought they had the right answer, of course. Old religious disputes had hardened into animosity. Like, those people, you know how that goes. But Jesus walks straight in to Samaria. And by the time he reaches a well, he's tired. It's noon, the hottest part of the day. The sun is brutal. And he's there resting at the well, and a Samaritan woman comes alone to draw water, which is already a hint that her life is complicated, that she is isolated. She's not come with other women. So from John chapter 4, beginning in verse 7, a Samaritan woman came to the well to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me some water to drink." I like to imagine he maybe said please, but it's not in the text. His disciples had gone into the city to buy him some food, so he's alone here. The Samaritan woman asked, "Why do you, a Jewish man, ask for something to drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" Jews and Samaritans didn't associate with each other. Jesus speaks first, "Give me a drink." She is quick, sharp, unafraid to talk back. "Why are you, a Jewish man, talking to me, a Samaritan woman?" She names every social boundary between them. She knows the rules. But Jesus is already doing that thing that Jesus does, stepping right over the boundary lines that we draw. And they begin a conversation then about living water, about thirst, about what Jesus can offer that no well ever can. And then, with what feels like an abrupt turn, he changes the conversation from this living water. He says, "Go get your husband and come back here." The woman replied, "I don't have a husband." And Jesus responds with truth that lands like revelation. He says, "You're right. You've had 5 husbands, and the one you're with now isn't your husband. You've spoken the truth." This is not condemnation. It is recognition. It is Jesus naming what is real, not shaming her, but revealing that he sees her deeply. And she knows in an instant that she is known. She turns toward him physically, spiritually, and the trajectory of her life is now pointing another way. Jesus has revealed something about himself by saying something about her, something that a Jew, a stranger, would have no way of knowing. Jesus has stepped into her heart space. For generations, interpreters of this text have maligned this woman's character, but the text does not do this. In this time and culture, women could not initiate divorce. Widows often married within a family line out of obligation and survival. The fact that the man she is with now is not her husband probably says a lot more about him than about her. Whatever her story is, it was undoubtedly painful, and it has left her isolated, even within her community. And Jesus names her truth without judgment. He sees her, and she experiences the power of being seen. So, seeing his propensity for truth-telling, she pushes deeper. She realizes there's potential for more conversation. She pushes right to the heart of that ancient conflict. Where is the right place to worship? She wants to know his answer. And Jesus tells her the truth that extends beyond all their divisions. He says, "The time is coming and is here when true worshipers will worship in spirit and truth." The location doesn't matter. He completely dismantles the age-old argument. God is everywhere. What matters is truth. He has spoken truth into her, to her heart, and now he is speaking truth that will draw enemies together. And she senses that maybe there's even more, so she leans in again and says, "I know that the Messiah is coming." And Jesus replies, "I am the one who speaks with you." He tells her the truth about himself. I am is not a subject verb here. It is a name. It is the name that God gives God's self, appearing before Moses in the Old Testament. It is the first I am that Jesus will utter in the Gospel of John, and it is spoken to her. He tells her the truth about himself. And the way before her is now forever changed. She leaves her water jar, a vessel of the life that she thought she had. And she runs back to her town proclaiming the truth of who she met, the truth within her awakened by his truth. So she becomes the first preacher of the gospel in John. She becomes the messenger of truth for her community. She becomes a woman unburdened by the lies that she had begun to believe about herself. And so people pay attention to her, and they come out to see about Jesus. So his pit stop at the well turns into a 2-day stay in Samaria with people who are hungry for truth. The woman's pursuit of truth, in turn, sets other people free. This story about the woman at the well has echoed in my mind alongside a line from Madeleine L'Engle's book, A Wind in the Door. Any of you Madeleine L'Engle fans? A Wrinkle in Time, A Wind in the Door. The boys and I listened to A Wind in the Door on audiobook over the Christmas break. And in this story, this sort of sci-fi fantasy literature, there is a malevolent force in the universe called the Ecthroi. And the Ecthroi is going about Xing, annihilating everything from stars to souls to mitochondria. And the antidote to this negative, dark power of Xing is naming. Being recognized and named for one's true self by someone who loves. And L'Engle's quote that sticks with me is this: when humans do not know who they are open either to being X'd or to being named. When humans do not know who they are open either to being X'd or to being named. When we don't know the truth of who we are, where we came from, whose heart we belong to, the void gets filled with whatever voices shout the loudest, labels, narratives, lies. Our very selves are open to being X'd. But Jesus does for the woman at the well what the Ecthroi are fighting against. He names her. He calls forth her true self, and she becomes again. This is where our own pursuit of truth begins. Not with facts or knowledge or data or history or information. Our pursuit of truth begins with being known, being named. With Jesus naming us without judgment and saying, I know who you are. I made you. That truth within us then leads us to pursue the truth around us. And so how in the world are we to discern truth around us today? In a world where every voice claims certainty, where AI is creating new realities, where news outlets, where the whole internet offer wildly different versions of the same story, where leaders in offices we once thought we could trust tell bold-faced lies to save their own skin, how do we even begin to discern truth about ourselves, truth about others, truth about what is going on with God, with humans, with the world? To begin simply. We can always start with curiosity. We try really hard to encourage and practice and exercise curiosity as a value here at Plattwoods Church and RU. Start with humility. Ask questions, just like the woman did of Jesus. She stepped out of her posture of this age-old religious conflict that she had been shaped in, and she stepped into the position of wanting to understand more. Assume that you don't have the whole picture and listen carefully to glean more. And secondly, I'll say what I say to my own kids all the time: check your sources. When they come to me with some random piece of information or some whole story that is plausible but has just enough weirdness to it to make me wonder, I'll say, where did you learn that? And if the answer is YouTube, which it usually is, I then have follow-up questions. Okay, who on YouTube? What are their credentials? And it can't be their number of subscribers. But that same question is true for us. It was true for the woman. She was seeking truth about her own religious tradition. Her former sources had led her down the same frustrating path over and over again, but now she has encountered a new source, and it was a source of living water who was able to back up his claim. When we are pursuing truth, we must be mindful of our sources. And then finally, Scripture itself gives us a filter. In Philippians 4, verse 8, it says this, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." There's a list you could write down and just put on your mirror. I memorized this verse as a song when I was a kid, so it comes back to me quickly and easily whenever someone asks the question, is it true? And the reality is, it takes a lot to discern what is true these days. Is it true isn't a simple yes or no question. But in Philippians, the word true is the first adjective in a longer list of adjectives, and I believe they are connected. I believe that things that are true are also noble. I think that things that are true are also pure. I think that true things are lovely things. I think truth and excellence are closely linked. And so perhaps when the truth is unclear, we can set our minds, we can think about, as Philippians says, the noble and right, the pure and lovely, the admirable and praiseworthy things. And in centering our minds and our hearts there, the truth may come into clearer focus. Because these are the adjectives that we as humans are called to be. These are how God names us. And anything drawing us away from what is noble and right and pure and admirable is a lie. They are the things that X our souls. Cruelty and hatred, blatant violence and fear-mongering, outright lies and deception. Those who choose this path, their souls are nearly lost. They have abandoned a pursuit of truth. They have sold truth for power, and they have completely lost their way. But as we have said all month long, there is, in following Jesus, always another way. And I'll borrow the words of Reverend Barbara Brown Taylor here. She's the preacher I want to be when I grow up. But she reminds us what we are called to, both as individual followers of Jesus, but also together as his church. She writes, "When the culture treats me as if all I am good for is to produce or consume, the Bible invites me to love. When the culture encourages me to think of myself as a rugged individualist, the Bible calls me to be a neighbor. When the culture conditions me to become a spectator on life, the Bible bids me to do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with my God. Over and over, the Bible offers me an alternative vision, not only of myself, but also of other people, and ultimately of the whole world. Sometimes it seems far-fetched, but other times it seems truer than what is supposed to be true." The first word for church, ecclesia, means called out, not into a building, not called into comfort and safety, but called out, into motion, into a different way of living. The way of the Magi, with our eyes open to power. The way of Abram, a way of blessing others. The way of Peter, a way of compassion. And the way of the woman, a way of pursuit of truth, both within us and without. The way will feel different, and it is hardly ever easy. But it is the faithful way that we can walk together. It is another way. I'll invite you to pray with me. You'll see words on the screen. I'll read parts, and then I'll invite you to respond when it says all. Your response will be the same throughout this prayer. God be the love to search me and keep me. God be the prayer to move my voice. God be the strength to now uphold me. O Christ, surround me. O Christ, surround me. Bind to myself the name of holy. Great cloud of witnesses enfold. Prophets, apostles, angels witness. O Christ, surround me. O Christ, surround me. Brightness of sun and glow of moonlight, flashing of lightning, strength of wind, depth of the sea to soil of planet. O Christ, surround me. O Christ, surround me. Walking behind to hem my journey, going ahead to light my way, and from beneath, above, and always. O Christ, surround me. O Christ, surround me. Christ in the eyes of all who see me. Christ in the ears who hear my voice. Christ in the hearts of all who know me. O Christ, surround me. O Christ, surround me. Amen.